Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here with the Entrepreneur Spotlight Series, and we have a great show today. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning into the show. You know, whenever we meet a great entrepreneur, someone that really is changing the conversation or the dynamic in a very groundbreaking way about a particular space or vertical, we love to bring them on the show. And this gentleman, Mr. Tim Murphy, came across our desk, and he has an incredible biography. I mean, he's been through it all. As a young man, he's seen some potholes and he's seen some speed bumps. And along the way, he's created a very interesting book that's helping people throughout the world. It's called Seven Secret Pillars of Sobriety: What to Do in AA and the 12 Steps Aren't for You. And I was so excited to bring him on the show because a lot of people not only are talking about recovery, but he also has this interesting entrepreneurial approach about book writing and how he wrote the book. And we're going to get into that as well. So, Tim, welcome to the Entrepreneur Spotlight Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Very excited.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I mean, before we get started, we have so many questions. You really wrote this groundbreaking guide. I don't want to give too many secrets away because it's really interesting. So many people are talking about it online and elsewhere. Let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet. Tell us about the book, generally speaking, Tim, and then we're going to get into it.
All right. Generally speaking, it is a guide for sobriety, and there's no fluff in it. It's straight, just meat and potatoes to help out, and it has a lot of recapture. Read the chapter, and then at the end of that chapter, it summarizes what you just read. And then in the back of the book, it has a good summary of chapters and things. But it is actually a real good guide to find sobriety.
It really is. A lot of people are talking about it. You've got these 7 key pillars that really empower people to design a recovery plan that really fits their unique needs and lifestyles and goals. But before we get into it, let's talk about you. I mean, was this something that hit you in your life? Is that why you came up with this idea? Tell us a little bit about your background and experience leading up to the book.
Okay. I kind of had to start out as being a child, growing up in a household where my dad, my mom both, but my dad was a very mean alcoholic. When he would get drunk, he would be verbally abusive and physically abusive. He would shoot holes in the wall, and that's the way I played connect the dot, the homicide division of that one edition. But grew up, I become a teenage alcoholic. By the time I graduated high school, I was depressed, low self-esteem, and suicidal. Then I, left home about at age 25, late in life. I joined the Air Force, and that pretty much changed my life because people didn't judge me because of my last name and my dad like they did in a small town. So I excelled in the military, but I was still a drunk. And as years went on, I got into bad marriages, 2 of them, and I drank more through those. Then finally, I retired from the Air Force. I moved out here to Colorado, where I'm at now, and bar hopping one night and run into a sign pole, and right in the middle of the car, it looked like I did it on purpose. The sign came down on the top of the car, crushed it down, and I drove the last mile to the house like this right here. I don't know how I even made it home. When I got up the next morning, the car was destroyed. It was a borrowed car that I had to pay the guy. I had to buy a demolished car. And so that set me off on the hunt for, I got to get sober. And went to AA, and that didn't work out. And so then I sat out in my shed and started writing down things. And that's how I came up with it.
Wow, what a life story. I mean, right now, looking at you, you look like the pinnacle of health. So congratulations. I mean, you look like this big, strong guy, great
Thank you.
smile, really, vibrant and putting off a really great energy. So let's talk about the pillars, because there are these things you talk about, the 7 powerful pillars that really people need to build a foundation for a lasting recovery. Let's talk about a few of the pillars or your favorite pillar, and then we'll expound out a little bit more on that.
Okay. First off, starting out, person has to have 100% commitment to change their life. You know, they got themselves into it. They're the ones that had to be responsible and take 100% accountability for their life and what they're going to do. And I think the other 2 pillars that are the biggest is practicing forgiveness and gratitude. Find gratitude in everything you do. Start your day with gratitude and end your day with gratitude. Bookend it. That's what I do. And those 2 things right there alone changed my life when I was sitting out in my garage, just writing down what was going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, I follow on Instagram someone named Chase Taub, and he says that when it comes to, I'm paraphrasing, when it comes to addiction or alcoholism or drug use, he says the alcohol use is not the problem. He says it's the solution. It's the solution to what's going on, that you have to sort of cover up what's going on in one's life. Is that the way you kind of look at it as well?
Yes, I can agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting, because one thing that you do very, very well is you believe in visualization. And these visualization exercises really set you up for success and long-term sobriety. How did you start thinking about visualization exercises? Was that in the shed when you started writing the book, or how did you start thinking about that?
Well, I'd use visualization when I was in the military. Before I'd go to the firing range, I'd visualize myself there and shooting. It worked out. I really believe wholeheartedly in visualization. And so when I got to that point and what has worked in my life before, I wrote that down. And so when I'd leave work, I'd visualize myself driving past the bar. And it worked. It helped me to set up for that success, or I'd take another route and not drive by the bar.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, you're visualizing all this going on. You need to make the 100% firm commitment. A lot of people, they say they hit rock bottom and then maybe they get a chance for sobriety. But one thing when we think about alcohol is you're going out to a party or you're going out to a social situation and it's getting a little stressful, and a lot of people reach for a drink because they think that's what they need to get through that situation. How do we handle those types of social situations without relying on alcohol?
Right. And in our society, alcohol is at every event we go to, picnics, births, christenings. There's going to be alcohol around that somehow, everything that goes on. And what you got to do is have a plan. Bring a friend with you to help you out, or, grab that glass of water, lemonade, or whatever, and hold on to it. No, I've already got a drink. Have pre-planned responses to when people are trying to get you to drink,
Yeah.
and be ready. Once again, have a game plan when you go there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, deliberate training.
You talk about game plans, you talk about visualization, you talk about thinking about what that situation is like ahead of time, and then deciding in your mind before the situation happens what to do so that you're prepared for that particular situation. Now, you're giving sort of a fresh perspective about how to approach this. But one thing that we always think about, and we want to talk about how you wrote the book, who helped you, publish it and things like that. But before we do, why is it so difficult? Why do only a very small percentage of people get on this road to recovery and stay there?
That's a hard question to answer. A lot of people, like I said, 12 steps, that is the golden rule, or it is the mainstream where we go, and it work, and it's even in rehab centers. That's all they do is do the 12 step, and it's a cookie cutter approach, and everybody that wants to get sober needs to do their own program and set up their own, and I wouldn't call it sponsors, support group. Yeah. And people that love them the best. And I think that's where we go wrong is we'll go to a meeting, have a sponsor assigned to us, or we pick somebody. Hey, I like that guy. He'll be my sponsor. And then one day what happens is you're talking to him and, hey, the kids are upset. The wife is, spending money and I just want to drink. And they'll say, well, Bobby, his wife is out shopping right now and he's got kids and he's not feeling that way. Why are you? And right there, you didn't take me as an individual.
Yeah.
You just, and that's one of the things that's wrong. And I've heard that happen many a time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Sponsors.
Yeah, we make it so difficult in our lives when you don't visualize and don't think about the future. And I wanted to talk to you about when someone decides finally they hit rock bottom or they just have had enough and they want to get on the right path. It seems to me like it's important to announce your goals. In other words, sharing your sobriety goals with trusted people seems to be something that creates accountability and really strengthens someone's internal gut to get to where they're going to that point where they're off the alcohol. Is that an important part of your program?
Oh, huge. Yes, sir. There's nothing anonymous about it. When you're out there drinking in the bar and getting drunk and hitting on people and getting in fights or whatever, there's nothing anonymous about that. So on the flip side, there should be nothing anonymous about you trying to get sober. Yes, 100% commitment. Announce your goals. Tell your friends. Tell your favorite bartenders, don't give me any more alcohol. I'm finished with it, and tell people that you love. And those, again, while you're telling them, you ask them, hey, I need your support. And you know what they're going to say. Yes, sure. I'd love to help you.
Yeah, I love that. That's great, Tim. Of course, get those people knowledgeable about what you're trying to do so they're part of the support program. That makes sense, right?
Right. And it's a family problem. It's not just that individual's problem. It's a family problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, yesterday, if you watch the show, I have a dog named Louie, and he's a little Pomeranian. We take a walk around the neighborhood. So yesterday, Tim, I decided to put on my positive affirmations. I love it. There's, you go to Apple iTunes, they've got positive affirmations. You hit the play button and you get these affirmations. I would imagine that would be an important part to kind of change the brain or the mind of someone that's had some problems if they could listen to some positive affirmations. Is this part of your program as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that is a huge part of it. And you're exactly right, because it's self-talk. What you tell yourself, like, oh, I can't get sober. I'm just like my dad or whatever. And those, I'll tell you, change your words, change your life, and listen, but listen and write them down, the ones that you believe in and that can help you. Not all affirmations are going to be good for you. And so you got to find one you believe in so you can get it in your head and say it over and over again. And you're right, that will change a mindset.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that makes sense.
Get you out of the gutter thinking.
Yeah, I love that, Tim. And of course, when we read your bio, something stands out that I have to ask you about before I let you go today. I know you're super busy, on the speaking circuit and, talking about the book and selling the book. When you were a young person, you have a childhood memory, according to the bio, of something called playing connect the dots with bullet holes. So we had to ask you about that. What was that all about as a young person?
Right. My dad was notorious for getting guns, and he never bought them. He always borrowed them, and I'd always have to get them, when he would pass out and return them to the owner. But he would get mad and be furious and threaten to kill us and, rack around, boom, and shoot it, boom, and shoot them in the house. And that's where I learned to play connect the dots. Yeah. And
Wow.
right.
Wow. Well, it's no,
But I promised myself I'd never grow up like him. And in one instance, I didn't because I never fired a gun in the house.
yeah. Thank goodness, right? Well,
Yes, sir.
it's no wonder why you had to turn to something to numb you out after experiencing something traumatic like that. And that's what a lot of people do. They want to numb out a situation that's traumatic or something that's causing them challenges. Now, before I let you go, Tim, on the show, we always talk to the entrepreneurs that are watching the show. For young entrepreneurs that are having a tough time in business, maybe you can take some of your groundbreaking experience and positiveness and give younger entrepreneurs something that they can think about to help them get through a tough time in their life or their business.
Right. Just keep moving forward each day. Try to do something that moves you towards your goal. And there's going to be times that you feel like not doing anything, but try to force yourself to get through those. Don't give up on your dreams and move forward.
Yeah, that's always great advice. We hear that from entrepreneurs like yourself. We've heard it from, Fortune 100 company founders and CEOs to billionaires to millionaires to, people just having a positive aspect of their life. Now, when you write a book, let's talk about book writing. You write this book, it's up on Amazon, it's on its way to becoming a bestseller. If it already isn't, we're going to put a photo of the book up on the screen so people can see it and put some links below the interview. Was this did you get some help in writing the book? Because do you want to give a shout out to anybody, or how did this all come about to get this up on Amazon?
Well, no, I didn't have any help. Like I said, it actually got developed through my journaling and writing down what I was doing. And then after that, just fleshing out the titles and the subjects and things like that. Now, what I did do, I would send a chapter to my friends to say, hey, what do you think? I did that and, got feedback.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you can journal and then you can turn it into a chapter, and one thing leads to another, and then you end up having a book, and then now you're on the Entrepreneur Spotlight show, and people are going to learn from this. This is fantastic because you say forget the one size fits all model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
you've introduced these 7 key pillars that really empowers a person to design a recovery plan. I'm going to call it that really is specialized. It's very unique because one size does not fit all is what you're saying. You tried some of the other programs and they didn't work for you. And then you had an aha moment where you said, I discovered something that worked for me. And the thing that works for me might not necessarily work for another person, but I can journal my way into teaching people how to build a program for themselves. I'm going to call it a holistic, actionable guide to help a person really reclaim their life from alcohol dependency. Is that the idea?
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like just a smorgasbord, I guess would be a way to put it. But the book you can go in. Maybe not all 7 pillars resonates with the person. Maybe it's only 3 of them. But again, take responsibility of your own problem. Use these as a tool. Take what works for you and leave the rest. But again, get that family support system around you